Welcome to Make It Make Sense. We are Marlene and Paulina, two research assistants at the Obama Institute for Transnational American Studies at JGU Mainz.
In this podcast, we take you on a deep dive into the world of our study program. Together with guests from all throughout the discipline, we talk about everyday societal topics you might not have guessed are connected to our field.
Join us in making sense of the issues that surround us and, most importantly, have fun listening.
Hey guys, welcome back to Make It Make Sense.
We hope you liked our last episode with Ruth. She's so cool.
She's so amazing. I know, right? I'm so glad we got to have her on the show. We're still on a high from having her on.
That was just so fun. I mean, Twilight.
What more can you want? Yeah.
First we had Morning Glory Milking Fun. Then we had Twilight. And now, for this episode, where it's just the third one and just the two of us, we have a bummer.
Sorry,
today we're tackling a topic that couldn't be more relevant in today's times. It's political rhetoric.
Yeah, you guessed it.
Not as fun as Twilight, but very important.
Very important, yeah. And I think, actually quite similar to our topic of aging from last episode, this is something we're constantly confronted with in our everyday lives. Like, we live in a world in which we as individuals are surrounded by media, especially social media, right? It's you scroll through Instagram before you go to sleep. Maybe it's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
Can't speak for myself. Luckily, I'm staying
I'm
strong.
trying to not do it anymore. But I mean, they're just snippets and catchphrases and some sorts of compilations just thrown at us constantly every time of day. And sometimes, even for me, as someone who deals with like political rhetoric, for example, in classes and in the university context, it can be really hard to see through all of that. And so in today's episode, we thought we could talk about it and try make sense of political rhetoric a little bit. And also how American studies as a discipline can help us decode it.
Yeah, definitely. And to make all of this a little easier to grasp, we're going to walk you through a few rhetorical strategies and give you a definition, first of all, in conversational language, so we're on the same page and we know what we're talking about. A real-life example. We're going to mostly focus on American politics here.
Yeah.
And then lastly, a note on why it's effective. Like, why does it work? How does it work? What does it do to us? Yeah. So do you want to kick it off?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to start with something that is used a lot, and that's metaphors.
Yeah.
Basically, as like a non-scientific definition, it is an expression that paints a mental picture. I brought you guys two examples here. They're both from Trump speeches in his campaign rally for the 2016 presidential election, and that was in St. Clairsville, Ohio. He first said that Mexican immigrants are, quote, pollutants dropped on America, end quote, and, quote, they are spreading like wildfire, end quote. Now, why does it work and how does it work? Maybe you already had that kind of effect where it does really paint a mental picture. I mean, wildfire, pollutant dropped. These are associations to something, in this case, very negative, in order to paint this mental picture and kind of try to coerce a certain feeling in a listener and a viewer of, in this case, hateful stances towards Mexican immigrants.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, especially in these cases, wildfire, for example, is something, I mean, we see it on the news more and more often. And it's something that's
It's a destructive force.
Yeah,
and
it's
that
dangerous.
image of like a dangerous, destructive force that is evoked in a viewer, in a listener.
It's also the sense of like not having control, right? Because the fire spreads, and once it's like, once it gets bigger and once it starts spreading,
it's really hard to take out.
It's hard to control it, yeah, and you have no choice but to leave your home and evacuate and stuff. So that's a feeling that's being conveyed, and it's this mental picture, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
Another classic, repetitions. And I mean, for a definition, it's repeating the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's not much to it. Yeah. As an example, I also brought a quote from one of Trump's speeches. Surprise.
You're going to see kind of a pattern here. Which patterns? The repetitions.
Pattern recognition. Yeah, exactly. This one is from a rally in Claremont, New Hampshire in 2023. And this is actually a longer one. So in his speech, Trump said, quote, "We'll expel those horrible, horrible warmongers from our government. They want to fight everybody. They want to kill people all over the place. Places we've never heard about before. Places that want to be left alone. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, fascists." End quote. So when I just read it, you probably all
noticed the repetitions.
Exactly. So horrible, horrible warmongers. They want to fight everybody. They want to kill people. All over the place, places we've never heard about before, places that want to be left alone. We will drive out, we will cast out. So I don't need to repeat the whole thing, obviously, but it's very obvious what his strategy is here. And
what is it?
What is the strategy? How does it work? This is a sense of cognitive ease. Stuff that someone is saying is easier to memorize. It's easier to believe when it really sinks into your brain. Imagine you're studying for an exam, for example. Some of you might try to read through your study materials over and over again. Just repeat the same stuff. Get it into your brain. And this is the same. This is the very same thing.
This is how it works.
This is how it works.
Yeah. I think that's a very good comparison, because what we also do is we connect these words then, and repetitions they drive home the point.
Yeah, exactly. So if this is something that you might do to your own brain to get stuff into your brain on purpose, it's something that other people will do to get stuff into your brain.
As well.
Yeah.
Just maybe those are messages that you don't want to have in your brain.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to move to the next one, because we do have two more. And that is something that I've seen you work with especially. And that is nostalgia framing, which is very, very interesting. And I think here we do need kind of a definition. And it is alluding to an allegedly better state of the country or the world, which is then mostly in the past. And now, this one's not Trump, but Joseph McCarthy and his infamous speech at the West Virginia Republican Women's Club in Wheeling, titled "Enemies from Within." And that was February 9th, 1950, right? And I think we're going to say a little bit about McCarthy later as well. Or you will.
I will.
But first I'm going to read you the quote. He says, quote, "We were physically the strongest nation on earth and, at least potentially, the most powerful intellectually and morally. Ours could have been the honor of being a beacon in the desert of destruction, a shining, loving proof that civilization was not yet ready to destroy itself." End quote. And I think, honestly, that is kind of a powerful statement.
It's pretty,
not that I'm going to agree with him. But it is powerful.
That's why he chose that specific quote, right? Because it's very on the nose in that case.
And that is why it works. Because it appeals to emotions and maybe even evokes kind of a sense of anger about the current state of the world by nostalgically framing the past as like this strong nation. Especially, I feel like the morally, which then really, really appeals to people because, I mean, see yourself as an intellectual or not, but you want to see yourself as a good moral human being.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think high in emotion, maybe a little bit anger, maybe a little bit protectiveness, but especially nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that is why it really works.
That's why it works. And I mean, we obviously chose Joe McCarthy's speech or the specific quote from his speech for this example, but this strategy is something that many people also in today's times employ and make use of. Not naming any names, but maybe if you listen closely and watch the news,
we have
you will
two
see this
people in here that we mention over and over again.
Yeah, and we're going to come back to him, unfortunately, one last time for our last rhetorical strategy that we're going to talk about, which is fear and safety rhetoric. And this might, again, be a little self-explanatory, but basically what it is it's in the act of inventing a threat, a perceived threat for people. And like we said, we're getting back to Trump one more time. This is, again, at the rally in Claremont, New Hampshire, that we quoted from earlier. And there's actually two quotes that we brought from that one again. And I'm just going to read both of them back to back. The first one is, quote, "The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left. And it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within." End quote. And this is this
Threat from within.
Yeah.
Notice something.
It sounds familiar. I really don't know why. Where we've talked about this before, but yeah. No, this maybe you've noticed it when I read it, but the repetition thing again, really strong in this quote. Yeah. And I'm going to dive into the second one before we explain it. Quote, "We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream," end quote. So yeah, again, as we said, the repetition thing really strong here, but what is even more apparent in these two quotes especially is this rhetoric of fear, and not necessarily safety here, but safety would then be the thing that Trump or any other politician in that situation promises to get people hooked, right?
Yeah.
And in that case, yeah, it's the, quote, communists, Marxists, fascists, radical left thugs, end quote, that he mentions and that he uses. That's his threat, right?
Yeah.
That he says is dangerous to America and the American dream and all of that. So again, and this kind of gets back to nostalgia framing too, is this again appeals to emotions. And the main emotion that is evoked here is fear. People get scared. People legit get... I remember, because I mean, you mentioned this briefly, I've been working on this topic for a little bit. And I read a quote once in a book that also dealt with this, these rhetorical strategies and analyzed political rhetoric. And what they said about Trump is and of course, we're using him as our main kind of example alongside Joe McCarthy, but what this book said is Trump's speeches are basically a pattern of emotions. It's not really that there's a lot of content. I mean, there's content in there. There's just not many facts.
Yeah.
There's not many hard facts. I mean, a lot of you will probably know this, but that's his main thing. That's his strategy, is appealing to emotion through nostalgia framing, through fear and safety rhetoric. And that's how that works. So, having heard all of this, now we know a little bit about how political rhetoric works and why it works. So now let's look at this from our beloved American Studies angle.
And it almost doesn't matter whether you're reading an 1850 slave narrative or a 2024 campaign ad. You're learning the same skill, reading for power.
Yeah, so this actually picks up from what we said in our last episode, right?
Yeah, it kind of teaches us to see through the surface and to then find out whose story is being told, who benefits from certain narratives, and who's being left out.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, American Studies is reading culture critically, right? It's pattern recognition, as we said, it's connecting past and present, and ultimately also understanding how language shapes power.
That really sums it up perfectly. It shows us that things aren't random, which, like, especially in American culture, because political rhetoric often draws on older concepts or American myths. And I don't know if you guys remember this from last season, but when we had Thorsten Katka on, we actually talked about how politicians nowadays use this frontier spirit and the pioneering American still to this day. And that is a very, very old, everything's relative, but an older idea.
Yeah. That's a prime example.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, yeah, we can tie all that in there, but also everything that we've talked about just now in this episode, and especially with the nostalgia framing. Again, it draws on older concepts, American myths. And I gotta say, from personal experience, it's just so true that nothing is random.
Yeah.
And studying American studies has definitely made me more critical and just generally aware of patterns, which, might I add, I have good pattern recognition, but it made me better at it.
Yeah. We trust you too. Yeah. No, but I think this is something that needs to be said as well, is American culture is so rich to study. I mean, I know we say this all the time, that we're not limited to the US and American studies, and we have this really transnational focus, which is true.
It is.
It is true. But since we're talking about American political rhetoric here specifically, and I mean, American studies is called American studies for a reason. Yeah. The United States of America are highly fascinating in their culture and history. And yeah, and there's just so much to uncover and get into. Yeah, and I think it's the perfect time to maybe not wrap this up entirely, but move on. Yeah, this time I was the one who said it. Do you remember last time?
I remember last time I complained about all, especially last season. I was always the one to be like, "Oh, we're out of time."
Yeah, no, this leave that to me in this season.
I appreciate you. But it's also, I don't know, I really like this episode because it gives me a feeling of confidence and safety, knowing that we're not completely lost in the flood of news and messages out there that we receive every day.
Every day, yeah. And it's like American Studies is our little lifeboat that will like whatever happens in the world.
It is our beacon in the desert of destruction, and not to quote McCarthy, but McCarthy.
We wanted to get back to McCarthy, right. So, yeah, one thing we should mention is that these quotes, all the quotes that we used in this episode to explain rhetorical strategies were actually taken from my bachelor's thesis. Yeah. And this was one of the things that motivated me to choose this topic.
So what exactly was, I mean, political rhetoric in some way, shape, or form, but
real quick, because it's a little more, I mean, not necessarily complicated than that, but there's more to it. So my main literary focus was the play The Crucible by Arthur Miller. Perhaps someone who's listening has even seen it on stage or read it in school, maybe. I read it in school back then, and that's how I kind of connected back to it when writing my thesis. So, yeah, and I first took a look at the Salem witch trials that it deals with on, maybe one could say, surface level. And next, I looked at the real world historical backdrop that the play was written against, which is McCarthyism, as they call it, in the Red Scare in the 1950s and 60s.
So,
in the United States.
To intercept, maybe, I know because I read your thesis, and I'm a good American Studies scholar. But who was McCarthy?
who on earth was McCarthy? So McCarthy was a senator in the 1950s and 60s. And his whole spiel, just to maybe boil it down, was that he set, and to get back to our rhetorical strategies from before, of, if you remember, fear and safety rhetoric, inventing a threat. His threat were communists and communism as a threat to the United States. And he very much had that rhetoric of like, oh, they're invading our country. They're taking over their...
That's also where the Red Scares come from.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where it came from. And he was one of the, or let's say the main voice in this whole thing. So, and Arthur Miller, to get back to my thesis topic, wrote The Crucible, in the 50s and 60s.
So during the McCarthy era.
Exactly, against that historical backdrop. He actually was, because there was a series of hearings, he was interrogated, and he was part of those hearings. And that's why he wrote this play, kind of. So, McCarthyism, the Red Scare, was kind of like my well, let's say second level above the Salem witch trials. And then my third level that I looked at was Donald Trump's political rhetoric. And that's where the quotes came from. So you guys never forget that this study program really matters, and you can use it to make a change in the world. This sounds really cheesy, but getting back to what I said before of like this is why I chose this topic and this is what motivated me. American studies literally transforms the way we see things. And this is kind of like why I chose this topic, is because I felt like, I mean, if you will, this was where I was coming from. There is like, we live in a world where we're so not just political rhetoric, but all kinds of rhetoric is raining down on us constantly. And just to make sense of it a little bit there, and to learn how to see through it felt important. And
And I think it just gives us very valuable tools that we need as individuals in this world that we live in today, like you said.
Definitely. So you out there, listeners, you also have the freedom to choose what you want to look at in your research. This kind of ties back to our first episode of the season, right? On thesis writing, because our field is so broad, and it's great when we can use this chance and use the tools that American Studies gives us to look at stuff like this and to see through these patterns.
Oh my God, we could go on forever, I'm not gonna lie.
Someone needs to stop us. Can someone...
The producer will just shut up.
Stop cut the mics. No, please don't cut them. We just need to...
we got a dirty look just now.
Oh, shit. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, we took this too far.
Okay, so let's wrap this up for real. Thank you guys for listening. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to it. Don't forget to leave a comment.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, because we post a little teaser for upcoming episodes, as you might know. And there's more fun content for you to explore. So check it out.
We'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye. Make It Make Sense is the official podcast of the Obama Institute for Transnational American Studies at JGU Mainz, Germany. This podcast is hosted by Marlene Winkler and Paulina Schlosser and edited by Paulina Schlosser. We're recording at the sound studios of the Zentrum für Audiovisuelle Produktion at JGU.
For more information on us, check out our website, and don't forget to always keep up with us on Instagram at Obama Institute. Thank you for listening.